Okay, pre-algebra, here are some examples from today's assignments, Tuesday's assignments, the adding and subtracting decimals. And adding and subtracting decimals is the same as adding and subtracting integers. You follow the same rules. So we're going to start out here by first making sure that it's plus in the middle, and it is. And then we look at the signs. This one's negative and this one's positive, so we'll be subtracting. The bigger decimal needs to go on top, so we're going to put the 7.8 on top. I'm going to write the 3.7 underneath. And remember, the answer is always whatever is the bigger number, which is the one on top, so this will be positive. So 8 minus 7 is 1, 7 minus 3 is 4. So that one is just 4.1. On this example, again, we make sure that it's plus in the middle, and it is. And then we notice the signs. This one's negative and this one's negative. That means we're going to be adding, so it doesn't matter which one's on top. So I'll write 2.7 underneath here, and so this is negative, but we'll be adding them together. And when you're adding and the signs are the same, that you keep the same sign. So I'm just going to add these up, and that 8 comes straight down. 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry that up here, and then that is 3. So this answer is negative 3.28. Looking at this one, again, you make sure it's plus in the middle, and it is. This one is positive, this one is negative, which means we'll be subtracting. And since 9.3 is bigger than 4.21, we're going to put the 4.21 underneath, like that. So this is a positive answer, but we'll be subtracting it, and since the top number is negative, my answer is negative. So I'm going to move that, because I can't take away 1 from nothing right here, so I'm going to fill this in with a 0. And you only have to do that when it's subtraction. When it's addition, it's not important. And then I'm going to borrow, so I'm going to make this a 10, make that a 2. 10 minus 1 is 9. 2 minus 2 is 0. And then 9 minus 4 is 5. And again, it's negative because the 9.3 was the bigger number, and it was a negative. Okay, so that would be the answer on that one. So here's another subtraction problem, or here's a subtraction problem. This time it's not a plus. So remember, we're going to make it a plus, and then change the sign of the next number. So we're going to make that one also a plus. And then we have addition, and so we look at the signs. This one's now positive, this is positive. So we have two positives, so we're just going to add them together. So I'll write 7.4 under the 5.6, add them, and I end up with 13.0, or just 13. So that is the answer to that one. Then we're going to have a few where there are 3. And the first thing you do is change any minus to pluses. So I'm going to come in here, and I have this minus, so I'm going to change it to a plus. Then I'm going to change the sign of the next number. So I'm going to change this one to a plus. And then I notice that I have this one's positive, and this one's negative. So I'm going to take the two that are the same, these two positives, and I'll add them together. 6.18 plus 3.2. When I add those together, I get 9.38. And then I have plus negative 0.4. And since this one's positive and this one's negative, now I subtract. This is smaller than 9.38, so I'm going to write it underneath. So my answer will end up being positive because the bigger number's on top. And so you can say 8 minus 0, that's a 0 there, and that's 8. So I'm going to borrow here. 13 minus 4 is 9, and then 8 minus 0 is 8. And so it's positive again because the 9.38 was on top. So this answer is 8.98. So what helps is first change any subtraction signs and then change the sign of the next number. And then if you have two that are the same, like two positives, add them together first. And then if the third one's a negative, then you'll subtract. If you have two negatives, you can add the two negatives together first, and that would be negative. And then if you have a third one that's positive, then you'd subtract again. So let's look at this last subtraction problem. And again, it's negative in the middle, so I need to fix that. So I'm going to change it to plus, and then I'm going to change the sign of the next number. Since there's no sign here, we understand that it is positive, so we need to make it a negative now. So now I have a plus sign in the middle, and I look at my signs. This one's negative, this one's negative. So my signs are the same, so I'm going to add, and I'm going to keep the same sign. Okay, so my answer will be negative because I'm adding two negatives. So I'm going to write this down, and there we go, negative 5.8, and that's the answer. That's it. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. I'll be happy to help you. See you tomorrow.